Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary.
Yes, hi, Senator.
Congratulations on a grueling morning. I am the last thing between you and returning to work. Let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for accepting the charge to protect this nation at a time of enormous peril and at a time, sadly, of far too much politicization and demonization of the Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security was founded in the wake of the September 11th attacks, after nearly 3,000 Americans were murdered on our soil. It exists because we learned at terrible cost that vigilance is not optional. And the success of vigilance is quiet and often ignored. It is measured not in headlines, but the absence of them. The flights that land safely, the plots that never materialize, the threats that are intercepted before they reach our communities. Like sentinels standing watch at the walls of a city, the men and women of DHS guard the homeland day and night with extraordinary dedication and professionalism. And yet, over the past 18 days, Democrats have shut down the very department tasked with that mission, weaponizing the budget process to advance political disagreements. The same voices that once called to abolish ICE and defund the police have now left the sentinels unsupported and the watchtower dark. That is what the Democrat shutdown has done. Let's get to the truth. For the American people, this oversight hearing is about three things: where we were, what has been accomplished, and where we need to go next. Let's start with where we were. Secretary Noem, when you walked into DHS, what was the state of operational control at the southern border that you inherited?
There was no operational control. In fact, our Border Patrol agents and federal officers were being forced to help facilitate the invasion of dangerous criminals and aliens into our country.
Were daily encounters at or near historic highs?
Yes, they absolutely were at historic highs. That's the worst we've ever seen.
Between 2021 and 2024, the Biden administration released more than 13 million illegal aliens into this country after encountering them at the southern border. Is that correct?
Yes, that we know of. There could be millions more.
DHS data reflects during this period of mass releases into the interior, crimes committed by foreign nationals included at least 15,000 homicides and more than 20,000 sexual assaults. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I will say, these numbers are not abstractions. And I will say to all the angel families here, thank you for being here. Thank you for holding the photographs of your children, of your spouses, of your parents, of your brothers and sisters who should be with you. Names like Jocelyn Nungary and Laken Riley and Rachel Marin. Jocelyn, just 12 years old, was killed just miles from my house. Raped and murdered by two Venezuelan gang members that the United States government had apprehended and then released. And when they were released, they traveled to Houston, Texas, and they kidnapped a 12-year-old girl and raped and murdered her. In your time at DHS, has anyone in the leadership of the previous administration explained why the hell they let so many violent criminals free in our country?
No, they haven't. In fact, under the Biden administration and Mayorkas's leadership, they closed the victim's office at ICE, the Voices office that would help families suffered a loss like Jocelyn's family and Lincoln's family and Rachel's family. They had no resources, no way to track court appearances or to get counseling services, no support whatsoever. They purposely closed that down to punish these families even more.
It wasn't just murderers and rapists that were being released in this country. The open border under the Democrats also became a pipeline for poison, killing our children. Secretary Noem, when you took office, is it correct that fentanyl was the leading cause of death for Americans between the age of 18 and 45?
That's correct.
Was the volume of fentanyl crossing our southern border at or near record levels?
Yes, it was.
And would you agree that when operational control collapses, cartels exploit that chaos?
They exploit it and they become enriched from it.
So now let's talk about what has been accomplished under President Trump's leadership. Under President Trump's leadership, we have had 0 illegal aliens released for 10 straight months. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In President Trump's first year back in office, how many illegal aliens have left the United States?
2.5 million have left voluntarily, and we have arrested, detained, and removed close to 700,000 now.
And how many known or suspected terrorists have been removed?
We have over 1,500 now today that have been apprehended and are being brought to justice.
In the first 100 days of the second Trump administration, is it correct that daily border encounters decreased by approximately 93%?
Yes, that is correct.
That encounters with gotaways, those who are escaping apprehension, decreased by roughly 95%.
That is correct.
And that illegal crossings overall fell by 99%.
That is correct.
And how much in illegal drugs are we interdicting at the border?
Well, fentanyl has dropped by 56% in just the last year, from 2024, where there was historic highs coming into the country, to historic lows in 2025 under President Trump's leadership.
And I would note that securing the border, targeting narco-terrorists, arresting and prosecuting Nicolas Maduro, all of those have had extraordinary effects. Is it correct that nationwide the murder rate has decreased 20% in the last year?
It's at a historic low. In the last 125 years, we are at the lowest murder rate that our country's experienced.
Is it also correct that the number of drug overdose deaths in America has decreased 20% in the last year?
That is correct.
That literally means there are thousands of Americans who are alive today, who would not be alive if President Trump had not been reelected and if Republicans had not won control of Congress. Would you agree with that?
That is correct.
It means, tragically, that had the Democrats' open border policies continued, there would be more and more rows of people, Americans, holding pictures of loved ones. We don't know who the loved ones are that weren't murdered this last year. We don't know who the loved ones were that didn't die of fentanyl overdoses, but we know that many more Americans are dead. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You know, I'll tell you a particularly infuriating illustration. Several weeks ago, the Houston Chronicle had a front page story, top of the fold. Banner headline: murder rate in Houston, Texas decreases by 18%. And Heidi, my wife, handed me the article because she knew it would piss me off. And she was correct. The article says the murder rate has dropped 18%. Experts are baffled as to why, and we can think of no reason whatsoever why the murder rate would drop. It clearly is not connected to anything that is happening anywhere. Madam Secretary, is it a reasonable inference that arresting and deporting murderers and gangbangers results in fewer murders?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And that arresting and deporting drug traffickers and stopping narco traffickers results in fewer people dying of drug overdoses?
That's correct.
It is amazing that that cause and effect is so difficult to figure out. Now, where do we go from here? As we sit here today, are there Border Patrol agents right now working with zero pay?
The agents and law enforcement officers are being paid. Some of the support staff and administrative staff is not able to.
Is the shutdown making it harder to sustain the enforcement gains that the American people demanded?
Yes, it is.
Does the funding instability affect morale within the department?
It does. Overwhelmingly, people at the Department of Homeland Security love their jobs and come to work recognizing how important their mission is. But they become discouraged when they can't pay their bills and can't feed their families, especially when they have multiple shutdowns, which tells them that members of this body and the Democratic Party don't think they're important enough to get paid for the work that they do.
Now, we are right now engaged in military conflict with Iran. At this time, do you assess that there is a real danger and risk of terrorism in the United States?
Every day there's a real danger and risk of it, but it is elevated at this time with the conflicts that we see going on overseas.
Well, and tragically, this past Sunday in Austin, Texas, we saw that unfold. A mass murderer who arrived wearing a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah," who was wearing a T-shirt with a flag of Iran, who had a Koran in his car, opened fire on a bar in Austin, Texas. Among those murdered, Ryder Harrington, age 19, Sabbath Hashan, age 21, and Jorge Peterson, age 30. Secretary Noem, is it correct that this mass murderer was born in Senegal?
He was, and then he was naturalized during the Obama administration.
He was naturalized in 2013. Would you agree that weaknesses in screening, vetting, or oversight, even years in the past, can reverberate years later with deadly consequences?
Yes, absolutely. That's why in green cards and naturalization purposes, the last several years under the Biden administration, we are re-vetting individuals from countries of concern.
And despite the risk of more terrorism, of more Americans being murdered by radical Islamic terrorists, Democrats are nonetheless voting over and over again to cut off funding to the Department of Homeland Security.
And encouraging resistance against our law enforcement, encouraging violent rioters to continue to resist us and to protest against ICE and the operations that we do to uphold the law.
You know, it wasn't long ago that common sense prevailed, that there was bipartisan agreement, that we agreed we all support the police, we all support law enforcement, we all want to see criminals in jail, we believe murderers should be in jail, we believe rapists should be in jail, we believe child molesters should be in jail, we believe gangbangers should be in jail. Today, tragically, the Democrat Party has decided they are the party of illegal immigrants, they are the party of murderers and rapists, and child molesters and gangbangers. And the men and women who are on the wall, the men and women who are defending us from these violent criminals, to the Democrats, they're the enemy. And they engage in rhetoric that is shameful, attacking Border Patrol agents, attacking ICE agents, calling them Nazis, calling them Gestapo, calling them terrorists, cheering on violence against law enforcement. It is utterly shameful. I want to speak to the men and women in your department. I want to speak to those Border Patrol agents, those ICE agents, all the men and women who are on that line. I want to say thank you. We appreciate you, your service, your courage. 31 million Texans say thank you. And by the way, the violence is occurring in Democrat states where it's cheered on by Democrat politicians.
That's true.
It is shameful. And Secretary Noem, I want to say thank you for getting up and going in and doing your job every day. Thank you for making my family safer. Thank you for making the families of 31 million Texans safer. Thank you for the honorable work of the Department of Homeland Security, and to everyone there, God bless you. And again, to the Angel families, thank you for speaking out and having the courage to say your loved ones mattered. They are not forgotten. I want to apologize on behalf of the federal government. Your loved ones should never have lost their lives. If the federal government had done its damn job, these murderers wouldn't be here. Thank you, Secretary Noem. With that, I don't have a gavel, but this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.